Okay, here's everything you need to know about the Marvel Universe before Avengers 3. Captain America. Steve is a dweeb, but wants to fight the Nazis. Uncle Sam said, no, don't fight the Nazis. Then Steve says, I wanna. Then Uncle Sam said, okay, but I'm gonna team up with Tony's spacesuit's dad and make you sexy muscle man. Steve-O is sexy now. He does musicals about people happy about war, but he not happy about war. Then his friend Buckets gets captured by a Nazi, and Steve-O gets him back. Buckers dies on a mission, and Steve is angry. Uh-oh, the Nazi guy has a super guns and a red face and might be better than Hitler, but it's okay because Steve suicides his plane and the bad guy into the ocean. The Iron Mans. Tony Starboy is very ego man and sells his weapon tech. Bad news, Troy boy. The bad guys is buying your stuff. The bad guys capture him and say, make big guns. And he said, okay. But really, he make a metal suit that killed the bad guys. He escaped, and the homeboy at work is like, business, the board, trustees. They battle with their Megazords, and Tony wins. Incredible Hulk. Brian Banker worked for the Boston Globe Spotlight team and the oldest continuously operated newspaper investigative journalist unit in the United States, and the film follows his investigation into cases of widespread and systemic child sex abuse in Boston area because by numerous Roman Catholic priests. After Brian defeats the Cardinal team in a foot race, he flies away to Georgia and he gets Georgian flu, which makes you green. Iron Man 2. Tony's spaceship's dad worked with this Russian dude, and the Russian dude's son is angry at Tony because his dad died. Russian man scared Space Tony and then uses other weapons manufactured to fight the Toy Story again. Tony wins. Thor. Pretty Hair Man is a prince in outer space magic land, and his friends are cool. Hair Boy is proud and rash. He does bad things, then Dad say, hey, you are not good pretty, but bad pretty. Mr. Hair gets sent to Earth to learn how to be good pretty. His brother is a sneaky sneak and bad. Bad Hair Boy meets pretty girl and then is good pretty again. Avengers. Snaky Stick Face Boy Hairman's brother takes a super stick. Then all the super friends are like, hey, give me the stick because my dad said I could play with it. Snake Man is like, nah. But then the Avengers stick him in jail. Snake Man is Snake, and he not worried. He thinks that super friends are not good team. Sneaks is right, and the friends is not good team, so they lose the first bass battle against the Hulk. Uh-oh, not so, Face Sneak Boy. He killed the stamp collector, and now super friends are also super team. Then Snakers escapes and brings in big aliens for final boss battle with the super friends are now good team and they win. Iron Man 3. Turns out Tony was a mean guy to a nerdy guy piece in the past, but now Guy is smart and sassy. Mr. Peace used a fake terrorist dressed like Gandhi to hurt Tony's friend. Tony's spacesuit is angry and fights Sassy Guy. Sassy Guy can breathe fire, but loses because Tony has a lot of spacesuits. Thor 2. There's a really bad guy, and he fights Hairman. Hairman and his snake brother win the fight, but you're like, should I trust the snake man?
You're pretty good.
You're pretty good. Pretty good.
Captain America 2. Steve's friend, Mr. Eyepatch, has bad friends. Eyepatch is hurt by them and tells Steve, hey, maybe you don't know if people are good because maybe they're bad. Steve finds out that bad super Nazis is running Americas, and they make a supercomputer that can tell if people is bad, and then supercomputer makes super planes to kill future bad people. Steve say, hey, this is bad. And then he make a new friend, and they stop the super planes. Also, the super Nazis brainwash Steve-O's friend, Mr. Buck, to be a kill. And at the end, Steve said, don't kill. And Bucker say, okay, but I'm confused about it. Guardians of the Galaxy. Stearman is a space cowboy, and he liked music. He'd take a purple snitch and try to sell it to Porcupine Pete, but Porky Pete said, nah. Stearman and some other people, Rocky Raccoon, the Giving Tree, and Lady Green, get put into jails. They meet Muscle Milk there, and they all break out of the jails. They're not friends, but they learn to become the biggest friends. The friends fight the bad guy, who did bad things, like being a bad daddy and repeatedly disrespecting the postal system. Guardians of the Galaxy 2. The Super Friends crash on a planet and meet Stearman's dad. Then the rest of the movie is an exploration of each character's shortcomings and other tropes, such as atonement of the father, here as a red herring with ego, and a true father in Yondu. With Rocket and Yondu, the movie explores the fear of closeness and love, and largely a distrust of personal honesty in order to continue supporting shoddy defenses of holding one's hands close to one's chest. Ultimately, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 dives into deep family dynamics, abusive relationships, the effects of ego, and the role of choice in all of these relationships. Avengers 2. The Avengers 2 isn't likely to be important. Besides, it's a prequel. Ant-Man. Ant-Man is the real flagship of the Marvel Universe. It had the biggest names and the best special effects, and it's the most memorable and highest-grossing film in the franchise. John Stamos is a nice guy, but he got put in jail for bribing the police officer and mail fraud. When he get out of jail, John want to be a good daddy. Mr. Pilsner say, hey, the secret to being a good daddy is to become a Spider-Man and break into secret lab and use a spider army to steal diamonds from the bad guy. I know it sounds obvious, but John Stamos didn't notice because he was in jail. So anyway, John become a Spider-Man and break into a secret lab and use a spider army to steal the diamonds from the bad guy, and he become a good daddy. Captain America's 3. The Civil War. Everyone on the planet is mad at the Super Friends because now many bad things are happening, and then people are like, hey, you should have a dad that says, do this and don't do this. Iron Man say, Dad is good proudly. And Captain Steve is saying, no way, Tony boy. Then all the Super Friends have a big wrestling match in their backyard, which is actually an airport. And then America Man gets away with Super Bucket. Spacesuit Man is angry and goes to get him. Surprise! Buckets was a bad bucket, and someone tricked him into kill Mr. and Mrs. Iron Suit. Iron Suit is very, very angry, so he punches and shoots us, and then Steve's punches and shields us. They stop fighting because the movie ends. Doctor Strange. Stern Strang is a doctor, and unlike many Marvel protagonists, he is egotistical. Surprise! Bad car accident, and Steve is not a good anymore. He does everything he can to get good, but he can't. Then he goes to get ancient Eastern wisdom because he is an old white guy. And then he meets the master, and she teaches him that, hey, you're not so smart, and you can do crazy things if you do a montage. Then he does a montage, and he can do crazy things. He learned that another bad guy, gee, there's lots of bad guys. And the bad guy wants to bring Cthulhu into the world, and Stern is like, hey, don't do that. And then Stern uses a green snitch, has to fight Cthulhu, and he annoys Cthulhu so much that Cthulhu is like, nah, okay, you're cool. Spider-Man. Spider-Man. So there's this guy, and he looks like Batman, and he's into bad things. He's using alien rocks to make Super Nintendos, but they explode if you play Star Fox. Spider-Man is a good boy in high school, but he wants to be Spider-Man in not high school. So he tried to be high school boy and Spidey boy. It's tricky. He get a girlfriend, and surprise! It's the bad Star Fox Batman guy's daughter. Soderham leaves his date with girlfriend and fights the Star Fox because Star Fox wants to take Tony's spacesuit plane collection. Spidey fights Star Fox and wins. Thor, Sock 'em Boppers. Turns out that Pretty Hair Man was adopted. His biological mother is married to Hades, the bad guy from the Wonder Woman. Mrs. Hades is kill Hair Man's hammer, and so he goes on a road trip with Hulk to give the suitcase back to Mary Swanson. Black Panther. Charlo is a king and wants to be a good king. His country has super rock that is big, big power. Batman steals some super rock, and Charlo say, hey, don't. But the Batman gets away. Uh-oh. Batman's friend, Killboy, is also Batman and kills Batman. Killboy is Chill's cousin and can be king too. Krillin Boy says, I want to be king. And Charlie says, nah. But Krill pushes him over the waterfalls. Killboy does what to do bad things with the country, and some people are like, okay. And some people are like, no, this is bad. And Kylo come back and he's not dead, and he say, no, don't kill, and then Kill Man dies.